or as they say, let me start the show. Any device that's connected to your business network, access your business network is an endpoint, right? So, and majority of the times though is construed that I have an antivirus on my laptop or my desktop. Now, is that endpoint security? Unfortunately, no. When you are using any cloud-based services like a CrowdStrike or anything else, okay, CrowdStrike was an incident. It can happen to any other operator.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of ETCIO DeepTalks.live, a learning platform where great minds share their perspective to educate, engage, and elevate the tech community, where we explore the frontiers of technology and innovation. So, welcome everyone to today's important discussion on future proofing your enterprise, the role of endpoint security and secure service edge in an era where digital transformation is reshaping industries. Security has become not just a priority, but a necessity. As businesses embrace remote work, cloud computing, and IoT, the attack surface is growing, and the traditional boundaries of cybersecurity are being tested like never before. So, today we are going to explore two critical areas that can make or break your security strategy: endpoint security and secure service edge. And these are the key pillars for building a robust, future ready defense, and they work together to protect enterprises against a wide range of evolving cyber threats. So during the session, our esteemed guest, Mr. Avijit Chakravarti, will shed light on how you can leverage these technologies to not only safeguard your businesses, but also ensure its agility and resilience in the face of future challenges. So let's dive into the complexities and opportunities of empowering organizations with robust endpoint security solutions and secure service edge. I'm excited to have an esteemed guest with us today, Mr. Abhijit Chakravarti from Kotak Mahindra Bank, who will share their valuable insights and practical solutions to enhance the resilience of our critical infrastructure. Abhijit Chakravarti is a Executive Vice President, Networks and Cybersecurity, Kotak Mahindra Bank Limited, an electronics and telecom engineering graduate. Abhijit is a seasoned ICT professional with 30 years of progressive experience in the fields of telecom, information technology, network, cybersecurity, infrastructure development and management, customer services, vendor management, and program management. So, welcome, Abhijit ji.
Thank you, Akansh, and thank you to the ETCIO team for hosting me and giving me this opportunity and platform to share my thoughts and experiences around, endpoint security and secured service edge. Thank you so much, and welcome everyone on the show. And I hope I will be able to do justice to this discussion, and we will both learn from each other. Thank you so much.
Definitely, sir, definitely. So before we dive in here, a few housekeeping notes. We will be taking questions from the audience. So please feel free to submit your questions in the chat box throughout the webinar. And we are here to ensure that the session is as interactive and informative as possible. The speaker will be sharing insights drawn from their extensive experience and the knowledge they have gained across various industries. So without a further ado, let's welcome Abhijit ji to take us through this fascinating topic. Abhijit ji, over to you.
Thank you so much. Let me kind of start or as they say, let me start the show. Enough has and more has been said by Akansh. I'll not kind of spend any time more. Now, as I said, it's very important that learning is a two-way exercise. So in a lot of events and webinars and seminars that I attend, I have taken away at least one thing which I have imbibed here. So the first thing is always start with a disclaimer. Okay. Yeah, because in this era of DPDP acts and whatnot, I don't want to be caught on the wrong foot, right? So yeah, so I think you've read the disclaimer, and the other thing, if you observe, and if you keenly observe as the slides go through, is the fonts in the disclaimer slide is the is the loudest. So these are the more larger fonts, so that I don't want anyone saying that, oh, I couldn't read that, so which is okay. Yeah, chalo. So we'll start now. Now, the first point, we're talking about endpoint security. The first point is, what is an endpoint? Now, Here, I think I would want to take some time and kind of explain that, endpoints sometimes are, kind of referred to or construed as laptops and desktops only. Now, just to set that clear, you see, you don't kind of focus on the text, focus on the diagram, and you see, any device that connects to the network, is a endpoint, right? So here, if you see, all type of devices, you have desktops, you have IoT devices, servers, mobile devices, cloud devices, wearables, POS devices, printers, what and whatnot. Anything that connects to the network is an endpoint. Let's set that correctly. Right now, what is endpoint security? What is endpoint security all about? Now, again, a bit of English, right? So, endpoint security, it says, is a set of applications or services that protects the business network. Now, please take this is I would want to emphasize business networks from whatever threat that can be installed on any connected device onto the network, not only laptops and desktops. Any device that's connected to your business network, access your business network is an endpoint, right? So now, and again, a lot of time when I talk to people, and I've gone through this journey myself, is that again, endpoint security sometimes, and majority of the times though, is construed that I have an antivirus on my laptop or my desktop. Now, is that endpoint security? Unfortunately, no, right? Antivirus is a component of endpoint security. It is not the endpoint security. There is more to endpoint security than antivirus, right? So if you look at the second sentence, it says that traditional antiviruses and firewalls protect the device. Endpoint protection is focused on defending the business network services from threats that appear across those devices. Yeah, that's important to know, right? Now, what are the key elements of endpoint security? Device protection. This is what we mostly do with antivirus. Network control. Who connects, which device can connect to the network and do what? Application control. What sort of applications can that device access onto the network? Data control. What sort of data control mechanisms do you have on that endpoint device, right? Last but not the least, the browser protection, because today, majority of the applications, in my own estimate, I'd not be wrong in saying 98 to 99% of applications are to the thin client driven, which means you access it via a browser. And hence browser protection becomes absolutely important, right? Anything and everything on the internet you access through a browser, and hence that browser protection is important. Moving on, yeah, so what's been the evolution in the endpoint protection, technology stack? So started from AV, moved on to, I'll not read the texts here. So, AV, next generation AV, EPP, then, you have the next generation endpoint protection, and then the EDR, and obviously the XDR now, right? EDR and XDR, what's the difference? I think I'll cover that in the slides to come, right? And I think, what's an EPP, what's an EDR, and what's an XDR, I will take that up in the, subsequent slides. But this has been the journey that the endpoint protection stack has gone through. Now, what are the major endpoint security threats? I think none of these are, to the audience attending this, I'm sure all of these are known threats. Malware, phishing, data loss, ransomware, denial of services, very known right now. Now, why should you have, and now just to kind of, instead of getting into too much into technology, I thought it would be good to give you a perspective of what does the endpoint security compromise looks like. Now, if you look at this graph, right, you'll see three different colors. You see a dark green, and you see a slightly lighter green, and at the end you see the most lightest green, right? Now, the darkest green stands for widespread. I mean, so in company desktop, 9.60% of compromise has been observed or recorded. Again, in company desktops, 50.6%, small numbers of endpoints in that, and 8.4 single endpoint devices in a company provided desktop. And so company laptops, online servers, mobile devices, wearables. Yeah. Conclusion, desktops and laptops are the most compromised devices. The reasons for such are attackers are always on the lookout to attack your endpoint devices. Why? It contains a lot of data, contains a lot of credentials, because you use your endpoint devices to access your network and all your, I would say, corporate-wide applications, etc. Now, I think this slide is important. This slide is important, right? And don't ask me where I got this data from, okay? So, but this slide is important. Now, why this is important? Again, all of this may not be very relevant to your organization. This is a global slide on what has endpoint security breaches resulted into. Look at the pie chart. Theft of information, 67% rise since 2024. I mean, in the last, we are on the 10th month of this 2024. Last 10 months, 67% of theft happening from information assets. Damage to IT infrastructure, 14%. Yeah. Reputation damage, 24%. Look at that. Yeah. Productivity loss, 66%. System downtimes, 14%. Now, if you are in a serious business, I do not want to take the name, but we all know what very recently happened. That was not caused because of an endpoint breach, but the financial impact that it caused, could be any of this, or a combination of all of this. Now, the important piece of here is reputation damage. Trust once lost can be very difficult to regain. So that's very important. I'm not even talking about business losses and financial losses, etc. Moving on. So, I mentioned that, if you remember my slide number 3, I said, static antivirus and firewalls. Endpoint security is no longer only about an antivirus. Now look at what is the functionality expectations from an endpoint protection solution. Prevention, kind of identifying malware, identifying advanced technologies using artificial intelligence, extra and all. Detection, threat intelligence integration, and threat hunting. So if you look at it, it is not only protecting from known viruses or known signatures. It's talking about threat hunting. It's talking about threat intelligence integration. Obviously, it cannot run on its own. Detection and prevention. Yeah, I mean, mostly complying to the NIST framework, right? And some points are very small. Even I tried to read them, couldn't manage, so I left it there. Yeah. Now, what are the different type of cybersecurity tools when you talk about an endpoint security solution? So you have EDR, mobile threat defense, extended detection and responses, EPP. Now, the difference between EDR and EPP, I mean, very, very subtle kind of endpoint detection, or endpoint EDR and EPP, you'll kind of, is a difference between on-prem and hybrid. That's about it, right? So, your endpoint protection platform goes onto the cloud also, in addition to your on-prem, right? Advanced threat protections, unified endpoint management. How do you manage your endpoints? Cut across all your different Windows, Macs, whatever sort of systems, tablets, smartphones, etc. Right? So this is what constitutes today, the components. When you're kind of looking at building up your endpoint security posture, you have to look at as to what fits your bill. You may not need all of them, and then you possibly may need a combination of a few of them. Right, so you've got to work that out according to your own requirements, right? But these are a list I thought should kind of help you identify as to what you should be looking at. Another important point: endpoint data loss prevention. With DPDP in the news and DPDP becoming a reality in some time, I'm not sure what time, but in some time, data loss prevention, DLP. And to add to it another component, so since that was not only related to DLP, I thought to kind of leave that out, is DSPM. Data security posture management and DLP will become very, very important. Now, we all know of the recent, it was in the news, so I'll be surprised if any of the cybersecurity fraternity colleagues missed it, was the Star Health breach, that data loss. Why did that data, how did that data go out? Why did that data go out? Why couldn't it be detected and prevented from going out? This is all about DLP. So it talks about identify, classify, track, and report. Right. So you got to classify your data, categorize, and then define exact actions as to what you do with what sort of data. Right. So that's very important. And so I missed, I guess, another piece of it, which is a part of the same piece is, so DLP, it's there on the slide. DSPM is data security posture management. Another thing is DRM, digital rights management. Now, suppose if I am to share a file to Akansh today, what do I allow Akansh to do with that file? Can Akash print it and Akansh forward it? I mean, he can click a photograph. Obviously, we have a solution to that also, right? But all those can be controlled. To who can Akansh forward those data? I think I can control all of that, right? So different type of documents, different type of information needs different treatment, and got to be extremely careful on DLP and DSPM. And I'm reiterating with DPDP hitting us, all data fiduciaries, banks, insurance, uh, healthcare, retail, hotels who collect a lot of data, right? E-commerce, you've got to be extremely careful with DLP, DSPM, and DRM. Yeah. Moving on now, when you kind of look at it, I mean, I'm not really sure as to how much of this you could grasp, but I thought it would be good to kind of share a slide on how do you approach endpoint security within your organization. I kind of noted down a few top of the mind, which are like outdated patches, phishing attacks, software vulnerabilities, loss of devices, loss of data, all that right now. Again, I'm kind of not wanting to read through this too much. I can hang on to this slide for a minute. And if there is any questions that you have, you can definitely post it on the chat and I'll be happy to answer. Right. So, so if you look at it, what are the endpoint security risks? So outdated patches, phishing attacks, vulnerabilities, loss of devices. What are the strategies? Track your connected devices. Do you have visibility into what is there in your network? A lot of hands will go up, I'm sure. Let me put a bit of a spin. You only have visibility to devices that are SNMP enabled. What about devices that are not SNMP enabled? Let me give you an example. CCTV. How many of you on this session today recall what happened at AIMS, All Indian Institute of Medical Sciences? Not very far off, right? It happened. We know a data breach happened in AIMS. There was a lot of chaos. I'm not sure how many of you know that that happened because of a vulnerability from a CCTV camera. And why you could not track it? Because it's a non-trackable device. It's a non-manageable device. So if you are managing all your laptops and desktops and you're very happy, please don't be. Look at all the devices and see if you are able to have visibility. Implementation of zero trust security approach. Again, I'll not dwell on this too much, but zero trust security approach is, I guess, a very well-known and talked about element today. So it kind of talks about restrict access, provide just-in-time access, look at your privileges, look at what is being done with the privileges, etc., and all that, right? And a lot of, and I'll take this opportunity to kind of, this is I've been bouncing off this idea with a lot of people, and I always get dirty looks. Now, since a lot of audience are not on camera, I'll at least not get the dirty looks here. So, yeah, so when I talk of zero trust access, and the favorite of the organizations are something called as SSO, single sign-on. Well, zero trust access says do not have single sign-on. That's the essence of zero trust access. And if you're still running your show as single sign-on, guys, take a look at it. Take a look at it. Do you really need that? Right. Manage USB port accesses, and why only USB? Any port accesses for that case, right? And fix security vulnerabilities, right? So, yeah. Now I thought I'll put this up again. A bit of a busy slide, but I thought a racy matrix is important. I think I'm not really sure how many organizations really look at building up a racy matrix for an endpoint security posture within your own organization. So I've tried to kind of look at, I've tried to plot the RACI across different functions within a corporate. Is this, I mean, this slide definitely does not cover all functions. There will be more, but I thought what are the more critical ones, which kind of are important when you are building up your cybersecurity posture and your endpoint security posture within your own organization, right? So You can look at CISO, HR, compliance, audit, privacy officer, incident response team, security ops, and CTO. I mean, these are all the critical functions within an organization when it comes to cybersecurity posture, right? And HR is not left out. Neither is audit. They're all responsible. They have a role to play and deliver. Yeah. Moving on, as I said, I'll cover you what is an EPP versus an EDR, AV versus an EPP versus an EDR. So the first one talks about what's a traditional antivirus. The second column mentions, the one in the middle mentions what's an endpoint protection, and the last one mentions what's an EDR. Typically, AV talks about signature-based protection, great for known threats, which do not happen today, right? And it consumes higher CPUs. Endpoint protection, machine learning-based protection, good for both known and unknown, kind of consumes lesser resources as compared to an AV. EDR is actually the important piece in EDR is alert, triage, and remediation. That is the important piece of it. The first two do not remediate, they only report. Yeah, the last one remediates. Yeah. Also looks at threat hunting and data exploration, uses a lot of ML and AI algorithms. So your 0-day kind of threats are taken care of. Now again, there's a lot of air around what's an EDR versus what's an XDR. So here it's for you. What is an EDR? Okay, so whatever good with EDR we saw in the last slide, but what's an EDR? Read the first line. It is limited only to the security layer for the endpoints. Whereas an XDR process multiple security layers, endpoints, network, identity. It kind of combines threats and alerts from all of them, triages them, and kind of helps you with remediation. Yeah, it's a unified platform across a multiple, I would say, sources of devices within your own network, right? So it's important to have it on one single platform. Otherwise, you'll have too many siloed platforms, and in absence of a integrated approach, I'm holding back from calling it a platformization or a platform-based approach, but a very tightly integrated platform, you will still have a lot of false positives. You'll still have gaps. That's where an XDR comes in handy. Yeah. Moving on, what are the key benefits for endpoint security? I guess this is a no-brainer, but I thought I'll put it here. Provides you visibility, reduces security cost, gives better user experiences, prevents data loss, supports dynamic updates, helps you with a unified platform for going across all of this. I think that's important. We already saw what were the challenges of not having an endpoint protection posture in place or a deployment in place in, I think, the earlier slides, right? Now, here are a few kind of best practices. Again, not a very rocket science of a slide, but yep. Yeah. Enforce least privilege access, important. Patching, implement automated patching, important. Implement granular application control, important. Practice network segmentation, important. Manage your BYOD cases. You may want to have different policies for your BYOD versus the devices that actually connect to your network. So you've got to be differentiating between both of them and see as to how you give best of the worlds to both of them. That's important. Now, before I move on to secured service edge, now when we talk about endpoint protection, please understand endpoint protection is not only about device. It's about a lot of things, right? It's not only about device. We saw this slide. I'll just go back to this slide. Look at this slide. Threat hunting, threat intelligence integration, detection, and prevention. This is what an endpoint protection should do. Now, does EDR, XDR do all of this? No. Okay. And an endpoint is also an edge device, which means that this is the device which is used to get onto or hook onto a network. I'm not talking about what type of a network or whose network, but any network, right? Now, this device from an endpoint has actually become an edge, right? Because this is what is the connectivity that you have from wherever you are to your resource, right? Now, hence, in addition to protecting your endpoint, you should also equally focus on how do I protect my edge? What should be my posture? What should be my strategy of the edge connectivity of the device at the edge, right? And hence, secured service edge, one of my favorite topics right now. Now, why secured service edge has become very important? If you look at what's happened post the COVID, yeah, COVID drove a lot of innovations and product developments, and SSE was one of them. Was it available before COVID? Yes, but I think the adoption of SSE went up humongously after COVID. So hybrid work is here to stay. This is, and here you can see, the source of this information is mentioned. 74.8% of organizations are supporting a hybrid work strategy. Cloud adoption has accelerated. Small, very small, medium, large, any sort of enterprise, there is something on the cloud. I would be very surprised if there is even one enterprise today who would come back and say, I'm absolutely not there on the cloud. Zero. I don't think that's there, right? And for a very simple example, if you're not on the cloud, I don't know how many, so if you are a Microsoft, most of us are, if you are a Microsoft user, and if you use the Microsoft Online O365, ladies and gentlemen, you are on the cloud, on a SaaS platform. You may not have a workload on the cloud, but you are on the cloud, okay? And obviously, concerns about remote access and security. Yeah. How do I enable remote access, and how do I ensure security to that remote access? So this is what is driving the adoption of SASE. I'll call it SSE. I'll not call it SASE. I'll explain the difference between SASE and SSE. I'll move on. So now, what is it that is, why is SASE or SSE, what is driving, what are the driving factors behind the adoption of SASE? Simplify access. Now, VDI, VPN, painful and not secure. We'll come to that later. Enforce least privilege, contextual, and continuous access control. This is the zero trust access policy. Okay. I, for some reason, do not call it zero trust access. I call it as a zero trust security posture. Okay, got to adopt that. Forget access is a component of that posture. Okay. Visibility and security coverage. Do you know your devices? What are you doing? Provide secure connectivity. Now, let me ask you a question. Suppose I'm connecting from an office provided device to my office network. Okay. My office provided device to my office network. That's scenario number 2. And my own device to our office network. What will you do to ensure that you are guaranteed of visibility before you provide a secured access? What will you do? How will you check device posture? If your browser is outdated, I do not want you to access my network. How do I achieve that? If you are using an outdated version of PDF or Microsoft Office, I do not want you to be capable of uploading, downloading, doing anything on my network or anything on my servers. Doable. This is what SSE brings. Right? User experience, we'll talk about that a bit later. And reduce the tool sprawl. This last piece of it, how do you reduce the tool sprawl? We'll cover it in one of the slides, in the upcoming slides, but just keep that in mind and in context. Now, what are the components of SSE? Now, there are two terms that are there. One is SASE, spelled as SASE, which is secured access service edge, that is called SASE. And this one is SSE. This is secured service edge. Now, the secured service edge has 4 components. You can see SWG, firewall as a service, CASB, and ZTNA. The moment I add an A in between, SASE, you will also add SD-WAN there. So, we'll talk about SSE because endpoints or edge devices will not have SD-WAN. Okay, so we'll kind of drop that and talk only about now. Now, just kind of put in brief definitions of each of these components. What's the SWG? There's a secure web gateway. It provides you with URL filtering, SSL decryption, application control, threat detection, and prevention for web sessions. Let me take you back again to the first slide. Will an antivirus do this? Will an EDR do this? Will an XDR do this? The answer is no. So you've got to have an SWG. Look at what all it is doing. Or you will have to have multiple tools deployed to be able to do this. Okay. Firewall as a service. If you do not have firewall on your premises, you do not want to enable firewall on your endpoints because it kind of consumes resources. What do? So you opt for firewall as a service through the SSE platform or the client. CASB. Why is CASB important? Today, when we are connected on the edge, we access a lot of applications. The applications are either hosted on the data in the data center, which can be on premises, or it can be your applications can be hosted on the cloud. Now, multiple clouds. I, as a user right now, could be accessing multiple applications from multiple clouds, different SaaS providers. That's where CASB comes into play. Yeah. ZTNA, we talked about it, zero trust network access. As I said, do not hold it only to network access, hold it to a zero trust posture. Okay. Access is a component of that posture, right? I'll move ahead. Yeah, here I've tried to kind of, what is SASE? Just drop that A in between, as I said, because, you look at SASE, it has SD-WAN. So, we'll drop the SD-WAN and we'll concentrate on the security piece of it. Because when you put up SSE on an endpoint device, you'll not have the SD-WAN right now. Now, SASE is SSE or SASE in terms is a combination of network and security. You see the first chart, it says, what does it do in network and what all does it do in security? You see SD-WAN security, drop that out, but see browser protection, software security, web security, remote access, IoT. You can do DLP, you can do device posture. Yeah. What does it help with? It kind of improves your agility. Importantly, it improves security through unified policies. You can take your policy how many of you remember that Vodafone ad where the dog follows the owner all around, the network following you? Yeah. People as young as me, I think, should be able to recollect that ad. Yeah. So here, your security policies follow you. Irrespective of what type of device you are using, I could still enforce exactly the same security policy, irrespective of wherever you are, what type of device you're using. Yeah. Components, obviously, we discussed. We'll skip this and move ahead. Now, this is pretty simplified. Okay. Now, any presentation, this is another thing that I've learned from attending a lot of seminars, webinars is, you've got to have at least 3-4 complex slides in your deck, right? Otherwise, people feel that, you've not done too much of your homework or you're not worth it. I'll do it for you. I'll not kind of, I'll make it up. Don't worry. So here we'll keep it simple. Yeah. So if you look at it, you have the cloud, you have the data center, you have the SaaS, you have the SD-WAN, you have the thin edge. Thin edge is nothing but a client as a browser, right? And you have remote users. Now, all of these users have different profilings, have got different security postures, have got different network connectivity requirements, have got different identification and posture management requirements. All that is bundled into one single platform called SASE, drop the A, SSE. So, Swig, CASB, ZTNA, and firewall as a service. You kind of combine them. That's what SSE is all about. So when a remote user is accessing a cloud, you'll need a CASB and you may need a SWG. When a remote user is accessing the data center, you may want to have a ZTNA. And when a remote user is accessing a SaaS, you may want a combination of CASB and firewall as a service. You get what I'm saying? Different platform access to that same user using different technology stacks within the same platform. This is the crux. Okay, I'll move ahead. Now, how is SSE different from what we do today? VPNs and VDIs is what we do, right? How is it different? One is that it is identity driven. It is driven by identity. So if I am, I will have an identity and a profile in the SSE platform. That drives everything. Irrespective of where I am, what type of device I'm using, and what I'm trying to access. My identity is my key. Point number 2, it's cloud native. You don't have to be thinking of too much because, between the on-prem and the cloud, there's a big difference, right? And if you are using an access technology which is not cloud native, you will definitely end up implementing multiple technology stacks and making it more complex for you to manage and operate, right? Third one is my favorite. It's support for all type of edges. Doesn't matter which edge you are in. I'll go back to my slide. Doesn't matter which edge you are in. You're a remote user, you use a thin client, and you have an SD-WAN connectivity. Yeah, doesn't matter where are you, what type of edge you are in, right? Globally distributed, since it's on the cloud, it's cloud native, and it can be globally provisioned. Today you are in India, you have a set of policies. You go to America, I can give you a different set of policies which will work only where you are in America. But if you need to be given a global policy which also works in India, I can do that also. Yeah, so across edges, across clouds, one single identity with a uniform policy or differentiated policy as may be the organization requirement. Now, this is the advantage of the SSE architecture. Now, why is SSE? What are the benefits of SSE? What's driving the adoption of SSE? Scales with business. Not very resource hungry, scales with business. Encourages work from anywhere, not only work from home. Okay, you can work from anywhere. You can work from barista, you can work from Starbucks, anywhere. And you get the exact security that you get within your organization, nothing less, nothing more. Yeah. Stands up to cyber threat evolution. This is important. Offers high level of security management to enable IT teams to deal with latest threats. Now, what if a device that you're using doesn't have the updated version of Chrome? I do not want you to access my network. Sorry. What about this device posture check? Is the device good enough to allow you an access? You may be good as a guy, but is the device good enough? How do I check that? Is your antivirus or EPP or EDR updated on the device? If not, sorry, gentlemen, I don't know. You may be compromised already, right? And the largest piece of it, it provides for native and the base for IoT adoption. Works across IoT and IT, which is very important, right? Now, this is what drives the adoption of SSE and why there has been a very widespread adoption of SSE across. I thought I'll put up a chart, but I thought I'll leave it out. So yeah. And I promised you I'll give you a complex slide. So here it is. So, you may take some time to read through it, but look at it. Look at the number of technology stacks that are available on one single platform. Move from left to right. Network security, look at the components. IDS, IPS, firewall as a service, firewall edge as a service, VPN, site to site. You can do that, right? Look at the web security, CASB, RBI. What is a remote browser isolation? Now, suppose there is a site which is a non-categorized site. I do not know whether that site is good, bad, or ugly. Now, I can do two things. I can say that if the site is not categorized, block it. No access. Okay, depends upon the organization security posture and risk, but I mean, the simple thing is to block it. Now, if you want to let it go, what do? I open up that same site on a remote browser, which means that remote browser actually opens up in the sandboxed environment. And you only see an image on your laptop. Anything that you download or access, any malicious content remains in the sandbox environment. It does not come to your end device. You are protected. And you can define whether you want to allow download or not, etc. and all that. Downloads also can be then looked at whether it contains any malicious content, etc. and all, and then only let go. So you can do that, right? Software secure web gateway. That kind of acts as a web gateway between your edge and your network. Yeah, DNS security, ZTNA. Yeah, and the list is huge. You can kind of look at malware protection, web application firewall, API, DDoS, all that is all bundled. Which one single platform gives you this? None, right? And now this is at the top because the network as a transport layer will need to carry. Look at the chart below. This is what the network functions it supports. CDN functions, SD-WAN, service performance, device connectivity, zero-touch provisioning, network as a service, kind of covers all that, right? Now you have the network, secured network, which carries it acts as a transport, secured, flexible, okay? On top of that, you build the security piece of it. And the network security as well as the web security and the access security. What more can you ask for from a single platform, right? So this is why I believe that SASE minus the A for the reference of our discussion today. SSE is here to stay, and it will only grow, and organizations will be benefited in kind of adopting SASE. So, this slide was not very complex, but I thought I'll still make a busy slide. And well, thank you. I think I'm done with my presentation. Over to you, Akansh.
It was incredibly insightful and very informative listening to your presentation. And I'll be now taking to the question segments. So I request my audience also to please participate by putting your questions as well. So I would be starting with my first question, why has like SSE become critical for modern organizations, like especially in the age of remote and hybrid work environments?
A couple of things, Akansh, and I'll go one by one. First
Yeah.
is connectivity. What is the
Okay.
ease with which you can set up connectivity? Now, suppose if you have a defined set of connectivity and you define sort of connectivity interfaces, you will need to ensure that the other end is also the same. For example, if you speak Hindi and I don't, how do we talk? We don't, right? Now, SSE acts as a translator in between, if I may kind of crudely put it. So you speak your Hindi, I understand my English, the SSE does the job in between. So eases connectivity. Second is, on top of connectivity, it builds the security layer. It by default brings in the security layer, right? Third is, it does a lot of cybersecurity threat identification and protection, like SSL decryption and encryption, IPS IDS. It kind of looks at malicious websites, look at malicious content. Now, through the SSE, through the browser, as I said, you can open up a remote browser if the website is not categorized. You don't want to trust that website. What do? You either block or you open it up, secured, I would say an environment which is not on your own, so that you are not directly impacted by anything malicious. So, and obviously, it's very cloud native. It's very cloud native right now. For example, look at it. If you didn't have a SASE, okay, and you want, so suppose I, as a user, I want to access an application which is on the cloud. Traditionally, what would have happened? I would have used a VDI VPN, dialed into my network. VDI VPN, VDI is good, but VPN is unsecure. So you kind of still use an insecure connectivity, dial into a network, no ZTNA. Okay, so it's once you're onto the network, you're free for all. From there onto the network, you go on to using your proxy. Now, what happens if your proxy is not reachable, or now your proxy policies are not replicated onto your endpoint? With that SSE, because of the SWG, we have, as I say, the policy follows wherever you are, into whichever device you are. So that, I think, has kind of accelerated the adoption of SSE, and the CASB, because then as an end user today, I will access the Microsoft cloud for something, I'll access some other multiple clouds for something. The CASB comes in handy, right? Otherwise, again, I'll have to backhaul all my traffic to my data center, use a centralized connectivity, monitoring, painful, right? So SSE is decentralized operations, but centralized policy management, control, and visibility in a very nutshell.
We have Praveen Mole, who is asking like how EDR tracks the sensitive data being leaking from the endpoint.
EDR does not track the sensitive data. The sensitive data will have to be classified and tracked through your DLP. As I said, data security posture management, DSPM, identify, categorize, profile, protect is what a DSPM does. DLP is a component of that DSPM. Overall, you will have to use a DLP to kind of look at classifying not DLP to classify, but to protect classified data. You'll need a different tool to first classify data. You will need another tool to, kind of protect or action on that data basis the classification that it has. DSPM kind of combines all of that into one platform. EDR does not do any data classification or protection from a data classification perspective. So if someone is sending an Aadhaar card detail outside, will EDR be able to do anything? No, that's not EDR's job. You'll first need to identify that data, saying that this is a PII data. You'll have to use one set of tools. Now, if it is a PII data and it's a sensitive and a confidential data, what should be allowed and what shouldn't be allowed, and where do you control? You have to use the DLP for that.
We have Mr. Himanshu who is asking like considering east-west network threat, shall we use DHCP in our environment or not?
DHCP? I heard that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
DHCP.
Can you type that out on the chat box?
Yeah. Considering east-west network threat.
Just a minute. I can see the QA. Hold on.
Yeah. Shall we use
DHCP. Okay.
DHCP in our
Okay.
environment?
So Mr. Himanshu, DHCP is used for allocating IP addresses to your endpoints or to your devices, not the endpoints only. Okay. Now, east-west network threat. So these are two different things that you are asking. Let me try and break it down for you, Mr. Himanshu. DHCP is used for dynamically assigning IP addresses. You do not want to statically configure IP addresses onto your devices. And because you will then need to keep a track of it, monitor it, keep tracking it and all, etc. So you use a DHCP. So any device that connects to your networks, you can define your IP subnet ranges and they'll automatically get an IP address assigned. How long do that IP address can be sustained or retained by the device, etc. and all, you can configure all of that. To control east-west traffic, my immediate solution to it would be, or my recommendation to you would be, look at network segmentation. Whatever comes from east and goes west, do you want everything to access everything else? If the answer is no, do network segmentation, look at firewall policies in between, kind of segregate your network. You may want to do micro segmentations also. You will have to consider all of that, Mr. Himanshu.
I believe Mr. Himanshu's doubts are clear. We have Mr. N.K. Ghoshal who's asking like how to prevent a repeat crowd strike. Like your presentation does not show that.
Yeah, that's because my presentation is not about protecting you from CrowdStrike like elements. Okay, now here I think there are two things that you've got to understand. When you are using any cloud-based services like a CrowdStrike or anything else, okay, CrowdStrike was an incident. It can happen to any other operator. Are the updates tested before you deploy it in your production environment? That is not the responsibility of CrowdStrike, Mr. Ghoshal. That is the user's responsibility. Okay, why would one allow any and all updates from the cloud to automatically update your systems? I, as a security administrator, do not recommend, is a very small word. I insist that you do not do it. Have you tested it out in your UAT environments, figured out what it is? That is one. Secondly, look at it. Does such updates or such agents that you deploy, are they sitting on your operating system, in the kernel of your operating system? Then you have a bigger problem to be taken care of. Or rather, your security posture management of anything that goes into the kernel of an operating system, you have to be more careful whilst doing that, right? So how to prevent that? I think first is that do not allow anything and everything from the cloud to come and update your systems, at least not your production systems. Yeah, you will have to limit that. Look at whether this goes and hits your kernel, and if yes, be doubly careful.
Okay, Mr. Himanshu is asking like his second question, that if we are in a domain environment, what are the security measures need to be put as a domain controller installs DNS service by default?
Okay, Mr. Himanshu, I can run another 1-hour session on this, on DNS security. DNS security is very, very important. The default DNS, see, DNS works on UDP. We all know that. And UDP is an unsecure protocol by design, right? Now, how do you secure your DNS environment? See, and I'm taking this question to kind of express my opinion about the two large concerns or two large elements that any enterprise would have. One is Active Directory, the other is DNS. To my observations, I'm not mincing my words, to my observation, I will be surprised if there are 1 or 2% of organizations who come back and tell me that there is AD security and DNS security installed and configured in the organization. DNS by default is not secure, so you'll have to secure the DNS by looking at DNS security as a separate element. Yes, you can. SSE will help you do that. If you remember my last slide, it talks about DNS security. It helps you with DNS security. How much of that may not be all of that, but so DNS security as a separate technology stack is available. You may need to kind of look at it.
Okay, we have Mirza Shoaib, who is asking like, which is more effective, EDR or XDR for a small organization from management and cost perspective?
See, in my own personal opinion, I would recommend going for an EDR, because when you say you are a small organization, see, a small organization, I mean, basis what is it small? I'm not, since I don't have that clarity, but I'll make an assumption that when you say a small organization, your sprawl of technology stacks are limited. You do not have too many technology stacks. You do not have too many servers. You do not have a variance in, like I have a Linux platform, a Unix platform, Windows platform, Mac platform. You do not have that sprawl. It is mostly kind of contained. I would recommend that start with an EDR.
Okay. I just wanted to ask, like we when we are coming to this point, like investment, like for organizations with limited resources, what would be your recommendations for prioritizing investments between endpoint security and SSE?
Unfortunately, see, SSE, till the time you say that I'm not allowing remote work, everyone has to come to office and log in. I'm not allowing a BYOD, I don't think you'll need an SSE. करोगे क्या उसका? Right. So, but whether it is small or big, if there's an organization with 5 people, small organization, right? 5 laptops, and they work from anywhere, you will need SSE. You will need SSE. And
Okay.
from a protection perspective, the SSE will not protect you like an antivirus does. So you will need to look at a platform. An EPP also should be good enough, an endpoint protection, which is a very basic protection, because then you can leverage the intelligence and threat intel of the SSE to do a lot of things for you. But you definitely need to look at either an EPP or an EDR. And if you feel that you do not have the capability organization-wise, don't get me wrong, when I'm saying capability, I'm talking about not about money, but I'm saying about IT skills, right? If you really don't have it and you do not want to build it up consciously, look at an MDR, which is a managed detection and response. Just replace the E with M. So, you kind of tie up with a managed service provider. Again, I'm not wanting to kind of name anyone. I can kind of respond on emails if you wish to. You can tie up with them and they will give you your managed security services along with the SSE and the EDR.
Okay. We have Mr. N.K. Goshal who is asking like how to quantify cyber risk from an insurance perspective.
Okay, difficult question to answer. Now the trick to do this, Mr. Goshal, is to get the trick correct. Now, the first trick is TRICK. That's the trick. My trick is minus the K. It is TRIC. Okay, let me see if I can respond on the Q&A itself. No, I can't. Okay, so I'll read it out for you. My trick is minus the K, which is TRIC. I'll elaborate. The T stands for threat, R stands for risk, I stands for impact, and C stands for criticality. Get that, you can quantify your risk, or you can quantify your cyber insurance. Abhi aapka email, if suppose your email is not working for 3 days, what will you lose? What will you lose? Now, but if you're, I'm not sure which industry segment do you represent, whether it is, could be anything. Now, suppose if you are from a manufacturing organization and your ERP doesn't work, or a SAP doesn't work, or if there is a breach there, now what's the impact and the criticality? Kind of get my, or your AutoCAD doesn't work. If you're a design firm, your AutoCAD doesn't work. Now what? Or it is impacted. Now what? Now you've got to be able to the trick is to get that trick correct. TRIC. Threat, risk, impact, criticality. Get that correct. This should be able to define, what should be the insurance that you're looking at. Now, see, again, I may be good with a 10 lakhs insurance as an individual, medical insurance. You may say that, no, I'm good for 20. Why 20 you feel is good, you will have to justify with your own thoughts, right? Similarly, you'll need to have some data points covering this TRIC to give you that answer. But you'll need to have it. Without that, I think it's a shot in the dark.
Okay. Mr. Himanshu is asking like one more question. You have given a glimpse of SSO, single sign-on. So integration of Active Directory with a firewall for accessing internet is good or a bad idea?
You should always, again, my recommendation, I'm not giving you a solution, neither am I as my disclaimer holds true. So, if you ask me, Mr. Himanshu, Active Directory on the internet is a strict no. You can use a federated service, you can use an ADFS. So when you are not on the Office network, but you still want your Active Directory functionalities, fall back to the ADFS, use your ADFS to do whatever you do on the cloud. But exposing your AD to the internet, by my opinion, is a strict no.
Strict no. I have one question
Big
from.
bold 34 font.
Okay. I have one question from endpoint security. Like, how do you see the role of endpoint security evolving as more organizations adopt remote work, like, and bring your own device policies? So, like, what specific challenges arise, and how can enterprise overcome to them?
So Akansh, I'll kind of segment this response into two. First, I'll take up remote access. You say when you kind of bring your own device. See,
Yes.
when someone brings their own device, when I'm bringing my own device, can I as an organization, you are bringing a device to connect to my network, Akansh. I'm an organization, you are an individual. You are bringing your own device to connect to my network. Can I dictate to you that you used to have Symantec antivirus version XYZ on your laptop? I can't.
No.
And even if I do, you'll say, whatever. So
Exactly.
now what can I do to ensure that I am protected? I'm not bothered about whether you are protected, Akansh, as a user. I am bothered about whether my corporate network is protected, is where I will do device posturing, SSE. I will check your device. I'll tell you your browser is bad. Sorry, get lost. I'll check your antivirus and say, oh, hey, nahi, fir to matlab baat bhi mat karo. Get lost. I will want to check I can check your device posture. I can do a bit detail, as detailed as you want it to be, right? I can do all that and tell you that, sorry, I do not visualize you as worthy edge to connect to my network. So please stay off. This much I can control. Okay. Now, when it is a company provided device, okay, now I'm an organization, my organization has provided me a laptop. Obviously, it has got a security posture already imbibed in it. Okay. Now, when I'm accessing my company provided device, a lot of times it is called as a managed device because it's provided by the company and it's managed by the company. If I'm using that device, still I'm remotely trying to access it. What are my threats? Am I using I would say reputed IP address? You would be connecting to some Tom, Dick and Harry internet provider somewhere. Uska IP address ही bad reputation वाला होगा. I don't want to allow that. Okay. I've been off my office network for a month now. Is my device posture updated? Maybe, may not be. If it is may not, or if it is not, sorry, I don't want you to access. First set that correct and then only access. Or I'll give you a bare minimum access. Mr. Akansh, yeah, your device posture is not correct. I am giving you the access to log a service ticket to my IT team. Bas utna hi karo. The IT team will call you and fix it first and then only you access. Otherwise, sorry, stay off. So, you see the combination of both, right?
Exactly. Okay. Mirza is asking, like, how is device trust considered while remote working on in terms of data protection and data security?
The easiest thing to do here, Mirza, is to take a quick check on your DLP agent installed on your laptop. Is the agent updated? What version? What sort of policies? What has been the latest policy update on the DLP? And does your agent on your laptop have that policy installed? I'll do a posture check. As a part of the posture check, I'll do your DLP check, DLP policy check. If that meets my criteria, I will allow you to do so. Else, you can work, but you will not be able to upload, download, do anything with your documents. Download you can, but again, one part of the device and endpoint protection is whether to allow downloading of files. What sort of files can you download? .exe to nahi karne dunga. Okay. So, what sort of files can you upload? So, I can, yeah, you're right, Mirza. DLP cannot be installed on BYOD devices. So if you are uploading a document, yes, you're absolutely correct. And in my erstwhile organization, my HR came back to me saying that, Abhijit, there are a lot of people who are not able to upload documents, on our portal. I said, excellent. So who are these guys? So, they're all our candidates that we interviewed, and we need them to submit documents. Excellent. What type of documents? Word, Excel, JPEG, MPEG, PDFs, etc. I said, good. Are all not able to submit? Some not able to submit. No, few are not able to submit. What type of document is not coming through? We figured out only PDF is not coming through. जिनका नहीं आ रहा है, सिर्फ PDF नहीं आ रहा है. Now there is no DLP there, Mr. Mirza, there is no DLP there. But I figured out that only the PDF is not coming through. The Word, etc. are all coming through. And then we figured out a few users whose PDFs did not come through. And we checked on our logs on our WAF, Web Application Firewall, part of your SSE stack. And the WAF said that that gentleman did not have an updated version of Adobe implemented on his machine. I said, thank you so much for protecting me. You may not have a DLP, but you can still do a postage check.
Okay. Okay. With the rise of like AI-driven cyber threats, how can endpoint security and SSE stay ahead of more advanced and unpredictable attacks?
So Akansh, the key out here is threat intel and protection. If I may just kind of allow me to kind of go back to my slide just for a moment to answer this question.
Yes, sure.
Just for a moment to answer this question, if I may just go back to my slide and take a reference of just a minute. Where am I? Threat hunting, threat intelligence integration is what you built into your endpoint security protection capabilities. Because say detection of known resources and prevention from known resources are easy. You do that with signatures. Yeah, but what do you do with zero-day threats? What do you do with polymorphic, threats that come across? You should be your endpoint protection technology stack should have a capable threat hunting and threat intelligence integration, without which you are really either as good or as bad. As good till the time you are not impacted, and bad when you are impacted. Period.
Okay. So thank you, Abhijit ji. I believe everyone's and my doubts are very much clear. So we are moving to the next segment of this program, that is rapid fun fire segment. So if you allow, can I go ahead?
Please.
Okay, what's the most interesting cybersecurity threat you have heard about lately?
Well, I mean there are many of them. I think the challenge. So if you say your question was, what was the most challenging one, you said?
Oh yeah, most interesting cybersecurity threat you have heard about lately.
Well, I would say interesting cybersecurity threats, are something. I'll take an example of what happened to Star Health. It was not a one-day attack.
Yes.
I think the
Yes,
report
yes.
the report said that this has been on since the last about a year odd. Now, if
Yes.
you look at it, the basic elements like visibility, reporting, detection, encryption, protection, everything failed.
Everything failed. Yes.
Right. So I think the capability. So I'll not name one, but I think the building up capability across each one of them and see how tightly are they integrated. I think they're important, and it's very important to run simulated tests. Pen testing. Do those red teaming exercise and see as to how good but ugly is your network, both from inside and from inside. See, other piece, I think, since you asked this question, Akansh, is a lot of organizations perceive that they are good because they have done enough on their external threat protection. Your internal threats are as bad. If you're not good with it, someday you will definitely end up in a soup. I think give equal importance to insider threats is what I would say.
Okay. AI or human intelligence, which one wins in cybersecurity?
I would use AI, as I call it. I would use AI for something. I use a lot of acronyms which are self-patented. I call it SAS, not the SAAS. I call it SAS. You would use AI when you need speed, when you need accuracy, and when you need scale.
Scale, yes.
Right? And you would use AI to do three things: detect, report, and remediate. Detect and report. On speed, accuracy, and scale, use AI. On remediate, some piece of it you may want to be hybrid or totally human driven. some piece of it you may want to let the AI do it by itself. You've got to take a call on that.
Very true, very true. In one word, describe the future of enterprise security.
I don't know whether we'll have jobs or not later, because with Elon Musk's humanoids and all, I think everything can be done right with AI, ML, and so I think humans will be
But
there.
at the end of the day, to control the AI and ML, also the human required
You will need
to put up the
coders,
codings and all.
to write the logic. You'll need prompts, but yeah, I think in future, I think the capability to uh, interconnect securely and with assurance, I think is where this interconnected network would move. See, we are still not talking about OT. And when you bring OT into picture, the whole playground becomes much more challenging.
Okay. Okay.
But I think interesting times ahead.
Okay. What's the biggest myth you have heard about cybersecurity?
Biggest myth about cybersecurity? Well, yeah, people tell me that cybersecurity is complex. I actually find it very logical. Ulta hai wo. So you just need to be capable of kind of getting your logic correct, and I think cybersecurity flows.
Very true, very true. So in a 10 years, do you think that we will still be using passwords, or will they be obsolete?
A lot of the environment has already gone passwordless, Akansh, right? And with zero trust security posture, not access.
iPhone also uses your like face recognition. They don't require no passwords.
अब यार देखो फेस की भी कॉपी बनाई जा सकती है. Okay. Now you've got to go passwordless and you've got to go contextual. Is this face located in Algeria this time or in Mumbai? You've got to build context. That is where the intelligence lies. Okay. The location, the face, is the face looking good, bad, ugly? So, you would see a lot of advancements in UEBA, user analytics and behavior. So, there was a forum that I was speaking, and I told them that, if my password is compromised, well, I have a problem. Now, suppose if my laptop and password both are compromised, now what? Then people told me you are doomed. I said, no. Because, Akansh, if I give my device and my password to you, the mannerism in which you will type my password on my device versus how I will type is very different. And using a tool, UEBA, I can detect that and say this is looking funny. This is not usual. This is unusual behavior. Pattern, context, all that. Yeah.
Okay. So what's the funniest cybersecurity advice you have ever heard?
Funniest cybersecurity advice. Right. The best cybersecurity advice is don't connect anywhere. Stay off.
Okay, thank you, Abhijit. Thank you, and thank you, everyone. I hope you have come away with valuable insights and actionable strategies to strengthen your organization's security posture. Remember, future proofing isn't just about addressing today's threats; it's about anticipating what's next and ensuring your enterprise is equipped to handle it. Before we wrap up, I'd like to thank our speaker, Mr. Vijay Chakravarti, for sharing their expertise and perspectives. And I'd also like to thank our audience for your participation and engaging questions. Your interest and involvement made this session truly enriching. So thank you, Abhijit ji. Any closing remark would like to add?
I would say stay safe and stay secure. Very important to get the trick correct, TRIC. As I said, cybersecurity posture and cybersecurity risk varies from organization to organization. It depends upon the organization's appetite, organization's, kind of basically risk appetites, right? So, as I said, it's like a medical insurance. What is good with 10 lakhs to me may not be good for you. You want to look for a 20 lakhs cover. Now, why you are doing it, there are reasons behind it. So, know the reasons, be logical, approach and adopt zero trust posture, not access only, right? And ask the right questions at the right time to the right people. I think that's my bit of suggestion that I can leave everyone with.
I also learned something like trust nothing, verify everything.
Yep.
So feel free to reach out to us with any follow-up questions, and don't forget to keep an eye out of upcoming webinars where we will be continue exploring more key topics and enterprise security. So thank you again for your time and stay secure. Thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you at our next session. So thank you, Abhijit ji. It was an insightful session indeed. Thank you, audience. And for more episodes like this, stay tuned to ETCIO Deep Talks.